Hi, Kerry. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Anne-Marie?
I'm okay. I've now discovered the blurred background
Oh,
button, which I'm using today because it's just something different. There you go.
I've just
Um,
got lots of
I'm
notices.
no problem. What I thought we talk about today is since obviously the back end, the tragedy of Sarah Everard, which we've had for the last few weeks, colleagues have been reaching out, talking about what they can do to be part of that movement around, raising the awareness, educating people about, sexual violence, sexual harassment. We know that the DfE have got the guidance from, December 17, revised in May 18, around that. So again, we can have that discussion
Yeah,
today.
definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's something quite topical. I mean, in schools at the moment, I've dealt with a few issues, and it's the question of freedom of speech and not hate speech is another way that you can talk about it. So it would be really good, and maybe we could start with the young years to start with, about how do we educate or help with that side. So what could we do?
So I'll show you some books, and I'm aware that because of the background I've got, I'm going to show you a bit of the book. But this is a book, again, it's called Exceptional Guide to Touch, and it's by Hunter Manasco. And I used this for quite a long time, actually, since 2013. And it's a book where I know I've been using it in frontline, but also teaching children very young about different types of touch. For example, they talk about, I'll give an example of the different types of touch. You've got, you've got accidental touch.
Yep.
Friendly touch, hurtful touch, touching myself, not touching, and having my picture taken. And also be mindful of touch for children with additional needs as well. Do you understand? So this is a little book where they've got short little stories, little scenarios, and you're teaching children about touch is a part of everyday life.
Yeah.
But being aware of, feeling uncomfortable, comfortable, and how to raise the concern or alarm or expression around touch that is uncomfortable, and knowing parts of your body that are not, that cannot be touched. So again, me and my resources, I've got some fantastic colleagues, authors in Australia. There's Janine Saunders, there's another one called Holly Ann Martin, even Christina Gabitas from the UK. But this is again about No Means No, and I'm talking about safeguarding colleagues here, by the way.
Yeah.
So No Means No is another book by Janine where she talks about, I don't like it when you tickle me, just give me a high five.
Yeah.
And this is also for peer on peer.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed is that we give the very clear messages about touch. You feel in control. You've got the right to say no. But do we actually give students strategies on, for example, grandma giving you a kiss? How do we give them strategies for that?
So this is the last one, let's talk about body consent, boundaries and respect. So going back to your comment, I did an audit in a setting before Christmas, and I heard about a model being used called the tag and the rag.
Right.
So tell the person that you don't like it, tell the person you're upsetting you, that you feel uncomfortable, ask them to stop, get help.
Yeah.
There's one called rag. Rag is recognize someone else has been upset or hurt.
Yeah.
Ask the person to stop and get help. Again, in her book, she talks about, sorry, you can't see it, the bystander model. Yeah, the bystander model. This is in Janine's book again, talking about be different. Again, apologies, colleagues, for the blurred, but it's called Be the Difference. And in that, again, we're talking about educating young people, when it's peer on peer, about being able to say something, being able to recognize. And again, in one of her books, she's got early warning signs. So when you start to feel uncomfortable about something, or potentially behavior is going to happen, listen to your body, ask for help, and tell someone. And again, she talks about empathy. Another one of her books, books is about, you mean empathy, talking about how people feel about things, and also another one called resilience. So again, her website is the letter E, number 2, letter E publishing. But there's loads of resources. So for early years, definitely it's looking at teaching them about respect, consent and boundaries. Someone's sitting next to you, they're a bit too close. So introducing personal space. So, you're too near to me, you make me feel uncomfortable. Having that. Likewise, permissions to touch, i.e. it's my body, you know, you're too near to me, I've got a right to say that, rather than you're not listening to me, or you're telling me that, don't be silly.
So there used to be,
by creating a culture.
There used to be a video, it was pants, wasn't it? The dinosaurs dancing around in pants, which was a similar thing. I never used to get, though, that some of them wore pants and some of them didn't wear pants. So I got a bit confused with the message. But it was a similar thing, though, isn't it? That we're trying to encourage the debate. We're trying to encourage the fact that they can think about it.
Absolutely. And introducing the idea that we've all got private parts, hence they're private, and people shouldn't be seeing them or touching them, and they need to be protected. And again, going back to, there's no cute words with them. The sooner we call them vagina and penis, anus and buttock, the sooner we're able to recognize that as an alarm bell when someone says there that someone's touching their, you know, rather than my bum. If you're touching my bum, that means you're trying to hit me on my bottom, rather than actually another, you know. So it's just being aware in the safeguarding world from that. But going back to older children, sexual violence and harassment, you know, being very clear that unwanted attention is harassment. You know, going back to the guidance of sexual violence and harassment, you know, using that tool to actually be looking at scenarios. I do quite a lot of talks to, you know, secondary children about privacy, consent, choice. And I give them scenarios. It's quite sad that they don't understand what privacy means, what consent means. They still are in this thing about, but they're my friend. They're okay. But actually what they're doing to you is harmful. But because they're your friend, you don't recognize that. So we really need to get that right in empowering that child to not think I'm snitching on my friend, empowering themselves to say, I don't like what you've done there, and I'm going to speak to someone about that confidentially.
I think it's really hard, though, and I think it's maybe a topic that we need to maybe drill into a little bit later. But I think that giving pupils the confidence to tell someone that they feel uncomfortable, that's the biggest trick, I think.
I know.
Because, I mean, I was watching my daughter the other day, and someone was upset and went to go and give her a hug, and you could see her body go like this, and the hug wasn't malicious or horrible or it was just they were crying and they were upset, and she didn't want to cuddle, but she didn't have the skill to say, actually, no, thank you. I understand you're upset, but she didn't have that skill. And teaching people to have that skill of, that's your space, that's my space.
It's interesting you say that, because I've got two daughters, and I think they've also gone through puberty where they are, you know, they've got they're breast aware, not such a word, breast aware, and they're aware that because their breasts are on top of them or in front of them, they're aware that people go near them, it will be touching when people go near. So in our house, we know that I respect that space, and even to the point where they look a bit sad, do you want a hug? And if I kind of give them a hug, no, mommy, that's, you know, that's sexual harassment. That's sexual harassment. I'm like, actually, you know, that's fine. I respect your decision. So it's a little joke thing we have. But at least they're enabled, they can understand
and have the conversation. I think that's really important. That's a good starting point. That's really helpful. Thanks very much.
No problem.
And I think that we may have to come back to this topic a little bit later.
And I think the last word on that, I think it's looking at the power imbalance. And when we take back the power from that person who's doing, that's when we're freed from that, in the sense of stopping it. But there you go. We'll talk about it another time.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
No problem.